commandeered and brought down those planes. They're all believed linked to the reputed terrorist Osama bin Laden, the man who's been targeting Americans for a decade. And as NBC's Andrea Mitchell reports, the U.S. is no closer to finding him.
He's known as the Contractor, the head of a loose-knit confederation of terror groups, dispatching operatives around the world. A master of media manipulation, he first stages high-profile interviews to threaten the U.S., then strikes his targets, and immediately moves to the next tent, mud hut or cave, disappearing from view and very well protected.
He has been able to get a physical security detail that is second to none in terms of being alert to any type of potentially hostile forces that would come within 150 miles of his base.
Until 3 years ago, he used satellite phones, not knowing that the super-secret National Security Agency was listening in. But officials say after a newspaper reported the intercepts, bin Laden turned to encrypted internet communications, or couriers carrying zip drives, making him that much harder to find.
The geography of Afghanistan has a million places that people can hide and not be detected. It's a very rough and rugged country, mountainous and desert, and very few population centers whatsoever.
And bin Laden is rich, inherited a $300 million fortune, which he uses to finance Afghanistan's Taliban rulers. The U.S. says in return they give him complete protection. And with each attack, he picks up more supporters, replenishing his cash.
A series of attacks has actually made it easier for bin Laden to raise money either from wealthy radical sheikhs on the Arabian Peninsula or even from poor but like-minded believers.
Why are his soldiers so loyal? Many served under him more than 10 years ago when he helped Afghanistan fight the Russians. His ally then, the U.S.
There's no doubt in my mind that at one point or another we probably armed him. But indirectly, I was training the people who today are terrorists.
The challenge now, building a coalition of his neighbors to isolate bin Laden. Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. And most important, pressuring Afghan leaders to turn him over.
To the extent that governments such as the Taliban government in Afghanistan support such things, you need to understand you cannot separate your activities from the activity of these perpetrators.
Congress has voted to let President Bush exercise all necessary and appropriate force against the terrorists, their sponsors, and their protectors. The resolution authorizing military force was approved 98-0 by the Senate, and the House's 420-1 vote came after hours of debate. Joining us from Washington, D.C. to explain what the vote means is Dan Gray, MSNBC analyst and acting director of the Lexington Institute. And so, Dan, let's begin with that. What do you think that vote means? It sounds pretty overwhelming.
It is absolutely overwhelming. We haven't seen that kind of vote since at the latest at Tonkin Gulf, and even before that, World War II. We certainly didn't get that kind of support for senior Bush on the Persian Gulf War. It basically says that the political leadership, the Congress, is behind the president, committed to a policy of war, if you will, nearly 100%.